Well, some students at Spartanburg Community College could get free tuition for the upcoming school year. The college announcing the new initiative to give free tuition through fall of 2024. Now, the initiative will focus on promoting persistence by requiring recipients to be enrolled in a program that awards either a certificate or degree, maintain at least a 2.2 GPA.
Higher education costs have increased almost 200% in the last 20 years. And so that burden gets put on individuals, on families, and we want to make sure that it has a route for individual students to take the full advantage of every opportunity to use funds to chase their dreams.
Now, students in the program will have to either live or work full-time in South Carolina, complete a FAFSA, and take a minimum of 6 credit hours. No word yet on if that mascot dog qualifies.